Okay, when I saw my name on here, it's the SAPERE. It's a little bit underqualified, because we've got Lizzie Lewis here, who's SAPERE's development manager. He's been in SAPERE for rather longer than I have. Probably knows more about it. But I do bring a SAPERE perspective along, because I've been working in community philosophy and with SAPERE and in academic philosophy for many years. So what I thought of doing is, in very few minutes here, is say a little bit about, as it were, a SAPERE perspective on changing philosophy, on as it were, the evolution of community philosophy. And I think it'd be really interesting at some point today to think about the kinds of spaces and contexts and activities and institutions that enable and really encourage community philosophy groups to flourish. It seems to me there's an ecology here that we have to think about very carefully, in which some groups, and increasingly in the UK, some groups are feeling that they can understand and feel and need some value to this kind of philosophy. And also lots of ways we can support those groups and help them flourish. There's quite a lot of tradition in philosophy for children talking about these environments. A quick note about SAPERE, for those who are uninitiated, we'll say about three things in a minute. SAPERE, for those who don't know, promotes philosophy for children in the UK. In fact, SAPERE has been going for 20 years now, trying to get philosophy, as it were, from academia into schools. So it's got a big, long track record, well established, big, successful, quite large organisation, charity. So it's a lead provider of philosophy for children. It takes a lead in teaching in classrooms, teaching philosophy in classrooms, or should we say facilitating philosophical inquiry in classrooms, and in training teachers. And each year we train thousands of teachers in schools to use philosophy for children. SAPERE, to me, seems a bit like a university department. It not only trains some teachers, it also publishes, it carries out research, it does projects, and very importantly, I think, in terms of the context of community philosophy, it acts as a support hub. So SAPERE has, over 20 years, built up a support network for people who use philosophy in places other than universities. Okay, SAPERE draws on the tradition from Matthew Lipman, the American tradition of philosophy for children. If you've read Jules' piece, there's a nice précis of Lipman and what goes on there. I think there's probably three things to say about that Lipman tradition. One sees philosophy as philosophizing, not as a body of knowledge or a canon of text. It's a process, it's an activity to do. And we might want to think of it as a distinct social practice rather than an academic subject. That tradition, that Lipmanite tradition, also sees the teacher of philosophy as a facilitator of an inquiry rather than as certain bodies of knowledge. So SAPERE trains teachers and teachers in classrooms, its members teaching work, in facilitating inquiry, facilitating philosophical dialogue and reflection. And I think the third thing about the Lipman approach is this is the spirit has carried over into the UK's is that the community of inquiry is really crucial to this. The community of inquiry as a learning environment in which this dialogic inquiry method can flourish is what really gets established. So the community of inquiry is absolutely central to this. And as I say, creating and supporting and maintaining communities of inquiry is a major part of SAPERE's work. These environments, these communities of inquiry as environments, of course, fit in with other environments in teaching and learning and policy contexts and things, and sometimes they overlap and sometimes they help each other out, and community of inquiry is used for other contexts and other environments. Sometimes they clash a bit, and we get communities of inquiry as a kind of critical countercultural force, saying actually we can learn things a different way, with different means and different ends and different environments. Within SAPERE, there's a 20-year history of promoting this and growing across the UK, becoming a national force, and influencing policy and other environments too. There's been, I suppose over the last few years, some developments within SAPERE towards what we might call community philosophy. And it seems to me that There's some of this is from the inside of, as it were, SAPERE's intellectual tradition. So you've got writers like David Kennedy, writing in the States, talking about, well, communities of inquiry, they need certain kinds of ecological environments in which to flourish. And actually, maybe schools aren't that environment. So maybe schools have to change, or philosophy for children has to be some kind of initiator of change in schools and transforming, or we have to transform schools a bit so it fits better. So we've got this insider, as it were, inside philosophy for children, this kind of critical dialogue between how radical people see needs to be, whether it changes its environments or where it works. There's also a kind of movement within SAPERE that goes kind of inside out, if that's an insider critique. There's an inside-out perspective. There's actually quite a few of us in SAPERE work with philosophy in all sorts of contexts. You cite some in the paper. But it's not just philosophy in pubs or with Age UK or something. We work outside of classrooms and not with children. So I've just trained up a lot of people in North York's Moors National Park Authority. They're adults and they work with adults, but it's informal. And we work in museums, galleries, people work in prisons, things like this. So actually SAPERE has been evolving this for a long time and taking quite an active role in helping others to set up and nurture them. And then there's a lot of other things happening in philosophy, like Paul Durham's work in philosophy and art and things like that. Where there's people all over the place trying to get philosophy going in different contexts, in different places. And again, quite often these people find their way to SAPERE, and SAPERE helps to set up and keep going. So there's a lot of these settings which are adult, which have different power relations to schools, which are either different institutions or they're non-institutional, where SAPERE is involved in the training and maintenance and the building of communities of inquiry as open-ended learning environments. At the moment, the state of play now is with SAPERE. I help SAPERE now with community philosophy, so I'm managing a project. So we've got some money from Esme Faber, grab that. Got the money from Esme Faber to set up a 2-year project. And the 2-year project is to train informal educators in all different contexts. And those educators will have some training and then 6 months of support from the project to either set up new groups of community philosophy, or they will be using community philosophy methods, techniques, approaches, etc., and creating community inquiry environments in their own settings and converting the settings into philosophy. So we've got the funding and the people. At the moment we're in the middle of this development. So we have 3 training sessions booked. So we're looking to train up to 66 people in these training sessions, and then support those 66 as they work with informal groups across the northwest. One in Greater Manchester, one in Merseyside, and one in West Yorkshire. And the SAPERE Community Philosophy Project, which is bringing in and working with people here from philosophy in pubs and youth community sector, and many other sectors with Age UK, etc., has developed, is actually currently developing the mid-development of the community philosophy facilitated training courses, digging around to articulate the intellectual groups, developing the support systems and developing networks for community philosophy. Jules is waving a piece of paper for me that says I've got some more time, but that's enough, I think.